Start succeeding. Stop comparing. Today's video is for all my dear students and subscribers of Biotecnika who always start comparing, who always feel like they have to compare constantly and compete constantly to succeed. But the truth is something else. Today I'm going to give you some amazing pointers which will glow a light bulb in your mind that, hey, you really don't need to compare. Hey, you really don't need to compete to succeed in the biotech sector. Well, truth be told, I have been a victim of this. I have myself cursed my own self thinking that I'm not good enough. I am compared to other friends or other people who are doing great in the sector. I am probably never going to make it, right? So it's like this. Let's assume that I, Shekhar Suman, CEO of Biotecnika, start comparing with Bill Gates. Can I become Bill Gates? No. Bill Gates is a billionaire, probably a trillionaire very soon he'll be, and he has done so many things in last 70 years. I can never ever, compete with him or compare with him in any of the parameters. It's not that he's genius, I'm not. We both are humans. But his chapter 11 cannot be my chapter 1. I have to always start from zero. That's the first point I wanted to make. But even before I say that, the entire comparison itself makes you unhappy. The moment you start comparing with someone who is not as good as you or not, you are not as good as him. So, probably, you can say positive comparison as well as negative comparison. So we'll talk about the negative comparison in this video. And maybe in the next video, we can talk about the positive comparison as well. So the first thing I want to say is stop comparing and start blooming. Stop competing, start blooming. And how do you do that? Start with enlisting your goals, your long-term goals and your short-term action plan. Okay? Kya banna hai? What do you want to become in the next 10 years, 20 years? Write that. And think big. Don't think small. Okay? Whatever challenges you are facing today will not be there 10 years from now. But if you don't become what you want to become 10 years from now, then your mind will again be filled with regrets and it will start comparing with someone who is successful. So, hey, let's not compare. Instead, write down your long-term goal. And once you have written your long-term goal, look at the action plan. Reverse engineer your goal and think what I need to do to achieve this goal. Right? So that's the first point. Now, the next point is assign targets to yourself. So now that you know your goal and now that you have action plan, split it into targets. Okay, this month I want to achieve this. For example, publish a paper. For example, study a chapter. So whatever you want to do, make your mind busy into action. When you make your mind busy into action, that addiction to compare constantly goes away, right? And when you think about comparing, you will think this way: hey, I could study this much, whatever target I had, I could achieve. So I think I am going the right way. I don't need to compare with Mr. X. So that is where your goals, your action plan, and your targets will help you, because it will occupy your mind most of the time. And whenever you are free and your mind starts comparing, your mind will automatically tell you, hey, I am achieving my targets, right? Automatically, I'm going to become that person, right? Okay. Now let's move on to the next point. The next point is turn off your distractions and social media. If you are addicted to comparison, if you are addicted to cursing yourself because you're not as good as or at par with someone, you probably are getting distracted too much. Yes, you heard me right. I had 6 cousins and all of them were a genius. Even today they are well placed in their life. I was the worst fellow. But my mind used to compare constantly with them. And because of that, I started feeling that I'm not good enough, right? So in my era, there was no social media. I had 6 cousins. But in your era, there are no longer 6 cousins. There are 600 friends who are not there to support you, but they're there to lure you and show you their good part of life. So if you see 600 moments of good things happening in others' life, you'll start feeling that nothing is happening good in my life, right? So that's what, probably you are too much distracted. So stop social media. Instead, focus on your target, focus on your goal. Moving ahead to the next point. Now, the next point is very interesting. Before you jump off, so Before you jump off and start comparing, look at the track record. Okay. For example, if I am comparing myself to Bill Gates, and if I see that Bill Gates is a big person, I'm not, probably I should also compare my track record with him, that I also have the similar track record, that I'm a consistent person, I'm a productive person, I follow my dreams, I work on what is my passion. Then my track record is similar. So why should I compare with his chapter 11? Let me compare with his chapter 1, where he was also similar, right? So this is how, before you jump to a conclusion, compare the track record. Okay. So basically, when we compare, we call it as a shiny object syndrome. So whatever is shiny, we get attracted to that, right? Children, you must have seen. Whatever is shiny, they will get attracted to them. Same way, our mind gets attracted to successful people, right? So, and then instead of learning from successful people, we start comparing with them, and we start cursing ourselves that why I was not a child prodigy, why I was never a genius. But that's not the case. You are already a genius. It's just that you have to follow your track record, right? See, you have to build long-term relationship, long-term games with long-term people. That's something you have to know, right? But at the same time, don't curse yourself because you're not a long-term person, because you're just getting started. So I remember a very knowledgeable person. In fact, he was one of my mentors. He told me a logic which blew my mind. And that logic was, when you start your career in the 20s, like you are 20-year-old and you're starting your career, so you are starting from zero. So your age on that day is 0, not 20. Okay, your professional age on that day, your body age is 20, but your professional age is 0, right? So now suppose you start working for 5 years, now your age is 5, right? Same way. So you cannot compare a 5-year child's achievements to a 15-year-old child, right? You can't do that, right? Same way. Stop comparing, start blooming, achieve whatever excites you. Achieve whatever is your passion. Automatically things will start moving forward. I know a lot of people who read my morning 6 o'clock or 6:30 messages which I send. A long message I'll write, around 3,000 words messages I'll send every morning in our social media group. The aim of that is to make sure that you all don't fall prey to the shiny object syndrome. The aim is to make sure that you stop comparing, start living. Stop comparing and start executing. Stop comparing and start working towards your goals. Okay. Now, let's quickly come back to the next point. The next point is, learn to identify when your brain is comparing or getting attracted to something shiny, right? You must have noticed that the moment there is a new mobile in the market, we all have this habit. Okay, what's the configuration? How much is the RAM? How much is the storage? We get attracted, right? So exactly the same way. The moment you meet a person or read about a person, or probably you learn about them on social media, stop comparing. And the moment it is happening, identify, okay, see, this is happening to me. Instead of learning from this person, I am comparing with that person. That's a wrong thing. Don't compare, don't compete, learn. Now, the next point here is, know your weakness. So basically, you have to do a SWOT analysis. Plug your weakness, have an action plan to strengthen your strength, and persist on it. Now, what happens when you don't do that? When you don't plug your weaknesses, you're already weak and your mind is constantly comparing. So it's like a dehydrated child you're asking to run. What will happen? He or she will collapse. The same way, if you do not fix your weaknesses, so unless you analyze your weakness, you cannot fix it. So analyze your weaknesses, fix your weaknesses, and strengthen your strength. Right? Hydrate yourself with motivation. Persist with habit. Stay consistent in your effort. Be passionate about your goals. Be target driven, but stop comparing. Stop competing. Now, many students who write competitive exams will say, stop competing, but we have to compete. It's a competitive exam. Wrong. See, you are not competing with the topper of that exam. You don't even probably know him, right? You are competing with your own self of yesterday, whatever you studied. Are you doing it in a better way today? Right? Because you don't know who will be the toppers. How can you compare with him? Am I, doing it better than yesterday? Am I improving in my studies? Am I being innovative in my studies? Am I doing it in a scientific way? Am I remembering things for a longer duration? Am I able to recall faster? Am I able to solve the questions in a better way, in a faster way? These are the questions you have to ask. So if the answer is yes to these questions, You're blooming. You're not competing, right? So that's for all the students who are writing competitive exam. Now, last point, very important. I always do that, and my favorite, personal favorite: ask questions, seek for help. At Biotechnica, in fact, before Biotechnica also, I had this habit. I'll go and ask questions. Like whenever I used to watch a serial or a movie, I had this question, iske baad kya hoga? Because I was so inquisitive, right? So you have to do that. You have to always go and ask people like, मुझे पता नहीं, what will happen after this? In fact, many of you always do that to me. Please ask me. Comment below whatever your questions. But instead of comparing and being demotivated and being in guilt and being in unhappiness and fear and being afraid and scared that you'll never make it, instead you have to seek help. Talk to a mentor who is himself an implementer. Talk to somebody who can help you. Talk to someone who can motivate you. Talk to someone who can give you an action plan. Talk to someone who will not judge you, who will not compare you. Instead, he or she will support you. I think most of the teachers at Biotechnica do that. In fact, 100% of the teachers at Biotechnica do that. So if you are looking for some kind of educational support, motivational support, career support, guidance, or any kind of help, if you are feeling that you are becoming a victim of your own mind and you are constantly comparing, click a button, schedule a meeting with me. I'll help you. So that's all for today's video. I think I gave you around 7 to 8 pointers. Hope this was useful to you. Please put your comments in the comment section. Let me know what kind of videos you would like to listen and watch from our side, and we would love to make them. Thank you so much. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.